Hey folks, Graphics Rogue here. If you're like me and you absolutely love the Total War series, you've probably played hundreds of hours of it. I remember when I was a small lad walking through Walmart with, I think it was my grandparents maybe. We were passing through the game section and I slowed down to check it out while the adults with me fucked off somewhere. Thinking back on it, not the most adult thing to do. But I remember something caught my eye. It was the image of a screaming man from the olden times, which I could tell from his helmet. I can't remember if it was a gold edition or not, but I was interested, so I picked it up to check it out. This was before all the games were locked up in that glass vault they have now. I looked on the back and it was talking about epic battle scenes and with you controlling thousands of soldiers fighting barbarians and whatnot, and I was intrigued. I couldn't get it that day because I was poor and was preoccupied with finding the adults I came with to make sure they didn't abandon me in the store to be raised by cashiers. But the image stuck with me, and some years later I eventually got it and I was hooked. I think I got it after Medieval 2 came out because not long after I got Medieval 2 Kingdoms, but was unable to play it for a couple of years because my computer couldn't handle it. It could barely handle Rome. But my love and true longevity for the game came with all the mods. You know, I could never complete a single vanilla campaign. I always found myself fighting more armies than I could handle, and the Senate's army was too much for me. And I was always in debt. This is before I truly understood the mechanics of the game, but I loved it nonetheless. But you know, even with the mods, battles can get a little repetitive after a while. The Total War series is focused around the strategy campaign map and the real-time battles. But this game is really about the battles, and let's face it, the campaign map has about as much depth to it as Kratos at a book club. So to perk up battles a bit, me and other imaginative gamers like to impose rules on ourselves, as well as turn this RTS game into an RPG with the power of our imagination. And with imagination, I've extended the play life of the Total War games for far longer than would have been otherwise. So with this video, I wanted to show you guys what I like to do to add extra fun and life to these games by pretty much doing what I can to make myself care that much more about my chosen faction, my generals and their dynasties, and even individual armies. Because from my experience, you can have so much more fun when you care about the people and places in a game. Hey, get out of here, you fucking little shit! So come along with me as we go through some of the things you could do to sweeten your experience with the Total War franchise. And disclaimer here, this video covers tips that would be useful on pre-Warscape Engine games. The Warscape Engine changes a lot, so I'll be making another video on some things you could do to roleplay those games, although it will be a little tougher considering the changes. So this video will not be covering Empire through Rome 2. So we got that? Let's get rolling.
Number 1. Cheating and diplomacy. Both sides at the same coin?
Hey guys, let's talk about cheating. This game is first and foremost about battles, and campaign strategy comes in at second. But unfortunately, the strat map is more fucked than a hooker in Mr. Plinkett's basement, so we gotta supplement the experience with a little cheating. Now, a lot of people aren't gonna like this, and I understand. Cheating on excess can lead to more cheating and thus a dull experience. But if we can impose rules on ourselves and stick to them, it can work. Admittedly, I haven't played the vanilla versions of Rome 1 or Medieval 2 in years since I discovered mods. The main mods I play on Rome are Europa Barbarorum and Roma Surrectum 2, whatever the latest is. While for Medieval 2, I play Stainless Steel 6 point something or other. I suggest you get all the mods mentioned above, for they are dope. Now, both EB and Roma Surrectum have Forced Diplomacy mods in them. Stainless Steel, you won't need them. Unfortunately, the Forced Diplomacy cheat doesn't work in the vanilla version of Rome 1. So I will be talking about the ones for Roma Surrectum and EB. Now, playing the game in the strat map, the AI as mentioned above is garbage. They will declare war on you at any moment or time whether you're an ally or not. And once they do, they will never make peace. And on the slim 0.01% chance they do, they will probably declare war on you on the next turn. So here's how to deal with forced diplomacy. Since the game is about the battles and not the strat map, I'm crafting the story around the battles. If one nation declares war on me and I really wanted to focus on another part of the borders, and I just didn't want war at that point, don't just force diplomacy on them. Fight for a peace treaty. Follow strict guidelines on how you deal with forced diplomacy. You don't have to use these parameters, you can tweak them to fit your own tastes. But say you want to end the war quickly so you can go somewhere else. All you have to do is defeat enemy armies and or take cities by a set number. In this case 3. I must destroy 3 armies or take/sack 3 cities, meaning you don't have to hold them, or destroy 1 army and take 2 cities, etc. In this train of thought, the enemy has suffered enough losses that they would be willing to accept a white peace. Now, I don't completely remember from Medieval 2 Vanilla, but in Medieval 2 Stainless Steel, you don't really have to worry about having forced diplomacy because you just need to destroy enough armies or take enough cities and the AI will eventually accept peace. So from there, you can continue any story elements you wanted. And you don't have to use these numbers, but let's say the peace lasts 5 years. During those 5 years, you can't attack them and they can't attack you. Now, they will attack you because they are stupid and think having thousands of their own people slaughtered over and over again is fun. So if they bring war to you again, use forced diplomacy to bring back peace. Do this for however long the peace treaty is set to last. And if they fight a battle with you, just do the auto-win defender cheat and act like the battles between you and your enemy never even happened. After the peace treaty's up and they declare war on you again, just do the whole thing over again. That's if you aren't interested in conquering their country by now. Now, if you want to ante up your peace treaties, like getting regions or money or even a protectorate, then you will have to raise the parameters on how many cities and armies you must take out. Considering your tastes, you can raise it from 3 to 6 to 9 or whatever you want. I won't tell you how to use the forced diplomacy cheat because they are used in a few different mods and I think they use them in different ways. So I'll leave that for you to discover. Most information on mods and cheats will be found on the Total War Center forums, which is a great resource for all things Total War, especially mods. But remember, the cheats here are used to enhance the story and strategic map experience. So don't overuse them or use any cheat not mentioned, as I do not see a need for them to help your role-playing experience. And if you can't use forced diplomacy, just pretend you have it and auto-cheat all the battles until your imposed treaty is lifted. It is also probably a good idea to have a piece of paper around to write these types of things down if you won't remember them later. So, bottom line, only cheat if it benefits the experience. Or if you really want to.
Number 2. Naming armies and appointing commanders for different stages of war!
Keep that piece of paper out because we're going to be doing a lot of writing. Losing an army and a general in a far-flung territory far from recruitment centers and reinforcements sucks. Losing an army and a general in a far-flung territory far from recruitment centers and reinforcements when you care about whether or not they return home to see their families again sucks so good! The point of this video is to convey some tips that will help you attain the maximum amount of feels while playing Total War. Now, if you're like me, you're completely devoid of all feelings and emotions lest one sneak up behind you and stab you in the heart. And if you're not like me, go play The Walking Dead, then come back. But you need all the feels you can get, and naming these armies and giving them clear tasks is key to really caring about your armies. And if they fall, it just gives you a much more focused motivation to bring justice to the ones who did it. It's just like the old gypsy woman said, "You're going to die alone, you fucking asshole. Penniless and soulless." No, wait, I meant before I kicked her from my carriage. She said, "The key to total war, bro, is total love." Oddly enough, ever since that day I've not been able to see my reflection in the mirror. Suits me just fine. My monthly mirror budget is now a refraction of what it once was. So when you put armies out, you name them, send them out on a mission like defend the northeast Thracian border, and give them a general. Write all this down so you don't forget and craft the story around it. Varenus, I, Marius, governor of Greece, am sending out a great, fully stocked army to send into Turkey to help defend the northeastern borders. Within this letter, I ask of thee to please accept my appointed position of legatus to you, a promotion I hope will come in great appreciation, and that will maybe help to further both of our standings in Rome. You will command the 6th Army of Anatolia, and take over command as the commanding army and commanding chief over all military forces in Anatolia. You will send word to General Alan that his 5th Legion of Thrace is to return home, rest, and restock his forces. Sincerely yours, Governor Marius. P.S. Enclosed I have sent with this scroll a drawing of a penis. Do you like it?
It's a drawing of my penis.
So what are some things we can do with this new implementation? We can decide to change the general every 2 or 4 years, however long you want, as that is a common thing for some ancient societies to do to prevent rebellion. After the next general's time is up, you can put back the previous general if you want, or just not let him command that army again. But if you're really adventurous, you can decide that if an army is completely destroyed in the field, you can never again raise that army out of respect like the Romans did with the legions lost in Germania. This army legacy system is definitely one of the few great new features to come out of Rome too. It's great to name your legions, then raise them back up, then raise them back up. Coming soon! New Total War DLC expansion pack! Rise of the Zombies! Lead your legions of undead to glory's victory! But more importantly, 2 brains!
Number 3. Giving generals, kings, and heirs backgrounds and story. They gotta have a story for all the cheating they've been doing!
So we've named our armies and sent them with commanders to different theaters of war. Okay. Why? Why have we sent all these men so far from home with such little pay? What are we doing? What's the point? What's the point of any of this? To avoid these maddening questions, we must give our characters motivations for whatever they are doing. Maybe the heir has a lust for power a little earlier than the king would like. So he and a loyal ally and friend raise a couple armies, go out into foreign lands and start a war and win glory and prestige back home. Maybe he has promised his ally will become the next heir if he helps him become king. Maybe when he's gotten enough glory, he will send out assassins to take out the current king. You can do this just by saying he was assassinated in your head, but sending out your king to fight enemy forces and making sure he is killed. Maybe he's greeted at home with a parade for the new leader, then decides to send his friend and heir out to conquer more territory in the name of the glorious faction. And then maybe, just maybe, the heir gets the idea in his head that he could be a fine leader himself. And maybe the whole thing starts all over again. You can do a lot with the family tree as it keeps track of all family members from kings, heirs, wives, sons, and daughters. Craft the story around them. Just don't have your character overstay their welcome, especially if they're annoying or even if they're beloved. If their time has passed, then their time has passed. Don't keep shoving them into our faces when they're 100 years old. And that's not how we know the characters, especially when there's so much more of the world left to explore. And why do you have to keep coming back to the same bullshit over and over again? Just stop it! Just do something else! I'm gonna burn your fucking house down! And of course, most of these ideas can be brought over to Medieval 2 since it basically has the same engine as Rome 1. Same cheats and family tree, although there are some mods that can help you choose your heir a little more easily than in vanilla Medieval 2. I use Stainless Steel 6.4 with some little sub-mods on it. And if you're using mods on either of these games that include ancillaries that tell you who is commander of all armies, or traits that tell you who had a triumph or something like that, then that can make things go easier and much more fun for you, since otherwise you would have to be writing all this stuff down. So yeah, you can create any kind of fun situation and scenarios you want, all with the power of your imagination. All with the power of your imagination. All with the power of your imagination. All with the power of your
imagination.
Number 4. Make storylines for countries and your relationships with them. For when you want to marry Pontus, but you want to bang Egypt.
Yeah, not much more to add here. You're starting to get the gist. Whether you are attacked or attacking, imagine reasons for it. And imagine how your factions could or would go about ending it. One cool thing I like to do is when a nation is on its last leg only with a few cities left and their armies are crushed time and time again, I will make a treaty with them to make them a vassal. So now we rule over them as well as they will supposedly help us in future wars. Again, the AI is garbage and will never accept this, so we must implement a time period this treaty lasts and enforce it with forced diplomacy. You can choose the parameters for such a treaty to fit your tastes, as well as how long it lasts. What about trying to make allies? In the early games, factions are all about alliances and trade agreements and whatnot. After that though, they're about as open to the idea as a married woman and sex. What? Put that disgusting thing in where? Of course I kid. Ancient civilizations are a little more reasonable than women. But remember, whether you're cheating in real life or game life, it can get boring after a while and take away all excitement. So be careful not to overdo the forced diplomacy or any cheats really. So to square yourself with making alliances later on, you can offer them over 15,000 total war bucks, and then force it so it doesn't feel like you're just cheating. Making parameters for alliances isn't as easy as it is with peace treaties, as you can destroy a few armies and be okay with making peace. Large amounts of money is the only way I feel good about it. Unfortunately, there is no forced diplomacy in vanilla games or Medieval 2 Stainless Steel, but in Stainless Steel and I think Medieval Vanilla, the diplomacy is a little better where you can just destroy enough of their armies and they will eventually make peace. So you can work with that. And of course, don't go making vassals or allies all willy-nilly. Make sure there's a reasonable reason in the story you've concocted in your head that justifies it. Don't make a vassal of a nation that's on the other side of the world when they can't even see your borders. So at the end of the day, I suppose most of these tips would only be useful with certain mods, which is the only way I think you should be playing these older games now. But I think some of them can be brought over to vanilla. If you couldn't tell before, I'm an RPG man first and an RTS man second. I just think adding some cool story elements really brings these games alive, at least for me. If there is anything you think I missed that could be added to the experience, please let me know in the comments. I would always like to try new ideas for myself. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But if for some reason you found yourself oddly aroused by this video in some way, then there is something wrong with you and I suggest intrusive brain surgery. As always, I am your graphics rogue and I will see you next time. Peace.